Hello, everyone. This is Erika on the Ask Erika show, and today it gives me a great privilege to introduce my mentor, Leah Steele. Leah Steele coaches. She coaches successful women, spiritual entrepreneurs. Her clients are badass spiritual boss babes that are on a mission to profoundly impact the planet. And I am so excited for the conversations. I met her actually before the Spiral. I was just watching her content, and then I went to Spiral practitioner training. She was there facilitating one of the levels, and I signed up for her program Ouroboros, which is pronounced Ouroboros. And I learned so much about my experience with money and deconstructing the programming around money. So introducing Leah Steele. Welcome, Leah.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So before we go into the yummy question, I want to know what wakes you up in the morning? What drives your purpose? Like, you're always telling us about our purpose. What inspires you?
Yeah, I think when this whole thing began for me, it was about in the very beginning, it was about women having a safe place to explore their personal spirituality. And that's really why I started in my business. And it had a lot to do with like being able to show up in a safe, judgment-free zone and explore your personal spirituality. That quickly evolved into helping people move into living really purpose-led lives. And that's still such a huge part of what I do. I'm really passionate about people, discovering their unique gift that they're here to share with the world, and then going out and unapologetically sharing that with the world. And I truly believe that when we don't do that, not only are we hurting ourselves, but we're also hurting the planet, and we're hurting the other beings of the planet, because we each have a unique message and a unique gift that we're here to share with the world. When we don't share that, then the people that are meant to receive it can't receive it. So, that's still a huge part of my big why of why I wake up in the morning and why I do what I do. And that has even further evolved into, just what we're going to talk about today, which is freeing people from financial slavery, from programming and from conditioning that keeps us operating, as a puppet to puppeteers that are controlling our every move when it comes to how we relate to money, wealth, receiving, because ultimately that goes on to affect our worthiness and our deserving.
Yeah, and emotions play a big role around money. And I didn't realize how much I was being impacted by that conditioning. And there's this word that we were talking about earlier, and that was this whole idea of humility. And you have a whole different way of explaining it. And the reason I wanted to bring this up is I hear of other people saying there's nothing wrong with humility because it's about learning and it's about expansion. And I want to hear your personal perspective on this word, because I know some people think that humility is about being humble to the teacher and being humble to the human experience. And I'm curious about what you have to say, because this has been on my mind for weeks.
Yeah. Well, if you follow me at all or you know anything about me, and you certainly know this, like, I am not here for the humility. I think the time of having humility and being humble is over. And I believe that the word humility and the concept of humility and the concept of being humble is another program. Like, it is used absolutely to control us, to keep us playing small, to keep us existing inside our class system or our caste system that we're born into. And so I'm not here for it, but, I think I loved we had a brief conversation about this before hopping on this call. And, for me, I don't need to be humbled to someone in order to learn from them. And in fact, I feel like any time that I have gone into a relationship with a mentor where I've felt less than them, because that's what being humbled is. It's having a lowly view of one's own importance. So anytime I've gone into a mentor-mentee relationship where I've been the mentee and I've humbled myself to that mentor, or I've felt less than that mentor, or I've pedestaled them in any way, it has not worked out well for me. And so, do I absolutely go into relationships with people that I can learn from with an open mind and an openness and a willingness to learn? Absolutely. But from talking to me about this, that I believe I'm your mentor, but I believe I have just as much to learn from you as you have to learn from me, because your purpose on this planet is different than mine. Your unique gift and your message is only yours. So I have no way of knowing that. That is something that I need to learn from you. And so when we come into learning a teacher-student relationship with mutual respect for each other, that's when the real magic occurs. It's not from me feeling like I need to be humbled to you or I need to have humility. That's my personal take on the teacher-student relationship. The other piece of this is that, I get a lot of kickback on this, obviously. Like every time I talk about this, every time I put out a post about this, every time I put out a live stream about this or content about this, I get people coming back to me saying, well, what about this? Well, what about this? Well, what about this? And something that was brought up to me was, there's two things I want to touch on really quickly. One is, what about being humble to our creator or to the divine? Well, to that I say, we are the divine. I am the divine and you are the divine. We are a unique expression, living expression of the divine on this planet.
And I wanted to say something, because I had someone who said, well, I'm just going to pray to God for me to get that miracle. Oh, I'll get taken care of by the divine because that's their role. And I thought it was just so interesting that they're like, I'm not going to do any investment because I already have the God or the divine to take care of me. So I can see what you mean by that.
Yeah. So I am the divine. So I don't need to be humble to the divine. The divine doesn't want us. I can't even tell you the amount of channeled information that has come through from the divine to me on this subject of humility and being humble. We were never intended to feel less than our creator. We were never intended to feel less than the divine, because we are the divine. We are literally each a unique expression and a unique living expression of the divine on this planet. So if I am the divine, I don't need to be humbled to the divine. And then somebody else said something to me about sacred sites. And, isn't it okay to go and be humbled by the greatness of, the Great Pyramids of Giza, for example, right?
Or Jesus,
or, whatever, like ascended masters or sacred sites. And so to that, my response is, if you just look at the human body, and it's a miracle. It's amazing to me that this body does all of the things that it does, that all of its internal systems work together that allow us to be sitting here talking, this physical vehicle that houses our soul, that holds this piece of the divine inside of us, right? And as women, we can create human life. We can feed our babies. This vessel is more of a miracle than any sacred site on this planet, as far as I'm concerned. So do I need to be humbled or in awe of the Great Pyramids of Giza? No. Can I have absolute respect for them? Yes. Can I be amazed at their beauty? Can I want to know more about how they were created? Absolutely. But do I need to be humbled by them? No, because I'm living in one of the greatest vessels ever created. So that's my take on humility and being humble. I'm not here for it. And I really truly believe that it is a crutch and it is an anchor in the spiritual community. We use it as an excuse to not fully step into our greatness and into our chosenness. And we have tried it that way for so long, and it's not working. It is time to impact and affect change on this planet, and we can't do it from a place of humility and being humble.
And yeah, I absolutely agree that we need to respect our teachers, but it doesn't mean that we put them on a pedestal, right? I don't put you on a pedestal. I think that this is why I love to interview. I love to just gain different perspectives, gain different wisdoms, and just schools of thought. But it doesn't mean that I'm going to listen to everything you do, because if not, I don't even have a message. Like, where is my gift? Which brings me into, like, there's something that you said, and it was basically people in the spiritual community are doing so much processing that they're not doing their purpose work. And I truly believe that the purpose work is in Ouroboros. So I wanted to hear what inspired you to create Ouroboros, because I've done Amanda Francis's Money Mentality Makeover. It's completely different than yours. It's a completely different way of thinking. So what inspired you to create Ouroboros?
Yeah, well, a huge shout out to Amanda Francis, because she was one of my early mentors, and I love her. I think she's amazing. And I love, like, I truly believe that, I'm a person that will always recommend her content, because I think it's an amazing starting place to beginning to change your thoughts and get rid of your limiting beliefs around money. So I always have to shout her out, because she was a huge influence in my life, and really her programs really created change for me at a time that, I was really struggling financially. So love her and her work. Yeah. So Ouroboros for me, after I went through the spiral, things shifted so dramatically for me in my life. And at the time that I went through the spiral, I was also doing wealth resonance clearing with Dane Thomas. I went through the spiral with Dane Thomas, who's the creator of the spiral. And he was also doing wealth resonance clearing with me as we went through the spiral. And it was so impactful. And my money story just began to dramatically shift. And so much so, and I fell so much in love with the spiral that I decided to become a spiral practitioner. And once I was a spiral practitioner, I literally began, because I've always been fascinated with wealth and money. And I literally began just making myself the guinea pig of clearing any and every wealth related thing that I could. And I began to see these really radical shifts and changes in my ability to earn and in my ability to make money. And I started to really also, as I was deconstructing the emotional conditioning, I started seeing the programming. I started seeing how we are controlled by money. And I got angry. I got really, really angry and really, really frustrated. And I was looking around, and I was seeing everyone around me not seeing it. And I knew that I had to do something. Like, I knew I had to do something to change it. And so the first round of Ouroboros, I put the program was a complete and total download that came through over a couple of months of how to structure it and how to do it. And obviously I'm a spiral practitioner, so it was influenced by spiral emotional clearing modality. And we still use that modality inside the program. But a lot of the information that came through for the program was just divine download. I asked how to deconstruct the programming, and I asked how to get rid of the emotional conditioning, and I asked to create a program that would completely uproot and excavate the rotting foundations that we all have around money. And that's what it did. And so, and it just continues to grow. And I actually yesterday, in fact, was getting downloads for round 3, which is starting in January. And I'm so excited. It's like, I keep thinking like, okay, now that the program's complete, now it's just going to be this. And it's like, every time it's like, nope. And so I think that probably will forever be what it is. Like, it will forever be evolving, and I'll forever be adding more into it. But yeah, it's, it is the most impactful thing I've ever done. It's the most impactful program I've ever done, as far as being purely results driven, seeing how it's changing and affecting my clients' lives, and seeing the ripple effect that it's creating out into the world. It is the largest, it's the program that's had the largest impact, for sure.
And as your client, as someone who's in the container right now, it's kicked my ass. It's not easy at all. Like there's times that I was like, I really don't even, I want to give up. Like, and it's happened so many times, but it was like, as soon as I clear that stagnant energy, there was a moment where I was thinking, I'm going to go get a job. But right after I give up that idea, and you told me, put 2 feet in, you're all in, or you're going in the bin. and, and right that day, that's when I started coming up with all this taco analogies, because I started to realize I have to train my audience. And something that Yana said, Yana is another spiral practitioner, she told me, you get to train your audience how to think about money. You get to train them. And even before your course, I was in spiral practitioner training, and I thought, I'm okay to talk about sexuality, but I'm not okay to talk about money. That's when I said, that must be this whole slavery consciousness. And as soon as I did, I literally, this has been the best month, and this is just the beginning of December. And it wasn't just you, it was a co-creation, right? Like you give the content, but I'm also doing the work. I'm also showing up. I'm also being on calls. I'm also like, I have to get out of my own way, because if not, then like nothing's gonna get done. And that brings me to the next question is, what is the spiral?
So amazing. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. It's like amazing, life-changing, and the whole entire world needs to be spiraled. So spiral is an emotional clearing modality that combines several systems: spiral dynamics, kinesiology, the Chinese meridian system, and it clears 22 of the most common human emotions. It clears our emotional conditioning and programming around 22 of the most common human emotions. And essentially what it does is it frees us up to have authentic emotional expressions instead of being reactionary and having to and reacting from emotionally conditioned way when things come up in our lives. So for me, it's the ultimate freedom. And it's the ability to be the true me, not the me that was conditioned by my parents and my grandparents and society. And it's the ultimate freedom, I think.
It is the ultimate freedom. And a spiral definitely has given me that ability to detach from certain stories. And there was like that word that you used, and it was neutrality, that when you clear your shit, you just come from like a neutral place, a blank canvas. You get to start over without letting the past run the future. And that's what I got from it, was just so much growth, just leaning in, sharing the content, investing with you, investing with Dane, investing. And finally it's just starting to show up. Like clients are getting wins. I got so many messages just to see like their breakthroughs. And I was surprised because I've done everything. I've done landmark, I've done personal growth. Well, I was skeptical about the spiral because I've done everything. But then I did it and I said, okay, like everyone needs to do this. And so that's what inspired me to do the spiral. But when I got into the money mindset, I realized that there was so many deeper layers. And there was something that you said that was really about stepping into your purpose, because I wasn't stepping into my purpose. I wasn't doing anything because I was so focused on my scarcity. And this is my favorite quote that you said is, you not sharing the message is causing the destruction here on the planet. Like what really came through to you that day for you to say that message? Because I was feeling stuck. You said that, and something just like opened up the floodgates for creativity.
Well, I think that, again, this is, we get so stuck in needing to be humble that we don't fully own our greatness and our chosenness, and that we were chosen to come here and to share our unique gift with the world. And especially for those of us that are meant to be frontline change makers, those of us that are really here to be affecting change on this planet. When we don't share our message, or when we choose not to be in purpose and live purpose-led, it isn't just us that we're affecting. We're affecting all the people that need to hear our message in order for them to grow, in order for them to expand, in order for them to be inspired to go out and share their purpose. And so, and I really feel that way. Like, I felt that way for a really long time. I feel like when we don't share our purpose work, we're being wildly negligent with the gift that we've been given by the divine. And more than that, when we choose to not do the thing that we're meant to do here, even if it's one day, even if it's one morning we wake up and say, I don't really feel like doing it today, we are literally affecting the planet. We are impacting the planet in a negative way. And when we choose to not go all in on our purpose, we are contributing to the destruction of this planet.
Emoji hands. Yeah, and by sharing the message, there is a possibility that we can have more female self-made millionaires. And which is interesting because like the Kardashians just kept coming in my mind. And I think you trigger a lot of people by bringing up the Kardashians because they are self-made. And I don't know why people get triggered, but I really believe that there needs to be more women to start entrepreneurship, to start a business. It's the most rewarding, and yet it's the most inner work that you'll ever do. Like, being an entrepreneur is the spiritual journey. It's you connecting to the divine. So yeah, I'm just curious, like, why do you bring up the Kardashians sometimes? Because I know it triggers people.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I feel like I bring up the Kardashians because I love them. I mean, that's the honest truth of it. I get inspired every time I watch a Kardashians episode. I'm inspired by the way that they market themselves. I am certainly inspired by their hard work. I think that as a society, we have a love-hate relationship with the thing that we have built, which is an obsession with celebrities' lives, right? So we want to judge that. We want to judge that, we want to watch it, but at the same time, we're the ones that have created this, right? We are the ones, there would be no reality TV if there wasn't a demand for it. And for me, the Kardashians really represent, I mean, Kim Kardashian in particular is a very, very spiritual woman. And
I did not know that.
Oh yeah, she and Kanye are very, very spiritual people. I mean, Kanye has, his Sunday service that he does, but Kim is really into meditation, and she's a very, very spiritual woman. And in the spiritual community, there is a huge judgment around being able to be embracing our humanity, right? Embracing, like, desire. Well, let me put it this way. The spiritual community is absolutely accepting of women that don't shave their armpits and don't shave their legs and are completely 100% natural, right? That is and are humble and have humility and, give their gifts away for free. This is all acceptable behavior in the spiritual community. What's not acceptable in the spiritual community is embracing beauty, is being okay with a woman making decisions about alterations or things that she wants to do to her body. It's like, you can't be spiritual and have a boob job. You can't be spiritual and get butt implants. You can't possibly be spiritual and shop at Louis Vuitton. You can't possibly be spiritual and desire to live a life of luxury. Why? Who made that rule? The fucking spiritual police? Like, it's so asinine to me. because those things aren't even on the same pole, right? You can be spiritual and be all of those things. But the spiritual community is going to come and judge you if you get your nails done, or if you get your hair done, or if you want to shave your legs and your armpits, or if you want to, get a boob job. Who cares? Get a facelift, get filler, get Botox. One does not have anything to do with the other. But we're in such a place of, it's like women, feminists want to move us away from who we've become as a society. And there are parts of that I agree with. But if a woman can choose to do whatever she wants with her body, as far as I'm concerned. I get Botox. I have had filler in my life. I am unapologetic in my embracing of beauty being a thing.
Well, that's really interesting that you say that, because I've had some people say that, like, by loving money, they say that the love of money is the root of all evil, or by liking those type of things is greedy. And so because I kept hearing that, I was thinking, I can't shine bright. I have to be humble, and I can't play full out. That's why I was always hiding behind social media. I was hiding behind the camera, because I didn't feel like there was the Kardashians that were doing it. So why do they need another voice? But this is why we need to have these conversations, because we need to start sharing that there are more women, spiritually gifted women, that need to learn how to deconstruct their program and be of service, because they can actually change the world, right? Like, you talk about saving sex trafficking and, contributing to charities. I do believe that me with money, I can definitely support more charities, donate to different causes. That's what I will do with money. Plus I will, treat myself to, a dry blow, get my hair done, get my nails done, give myself a good experience, because then I'll be vibrating at my highest.
Absolutely. And money is the root of all evil from the Bible. Programming, right? Greed, another program. Like, literally, these things are put in place to control us, to keep us playing small, to keep us controlled. Yeah. They are the spell of the people in power to keep us stuck in financial slavery consciousness.
Exactly. And so I was watching Gilmore Girls the other day and not doing my homework. Just being honest. And I was listening to the song of the Gilmore Girls, and it was like, I will follow you anywhere. And it clicked. And I was like, oh my God, this is the Matrix. This is us being programmed to follow, right? To be humble. So as soon as I heard the lyrics, I was like, oh, that's a really catchy song. But I was becoming a follower. I wasn't becoming a leader. I was just allowing other people to lead and just being a follower.
Yep. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
And once the cracks start to happen, it's like, the whole thing comes tumbling down. It's like, now you'll start recognizing it in every song, in every, television show, in every saying.
So I have one more question, and that is, I just want to hear more about the Ouroboros program. How can people learn about it? How can people join? I'm actually interested in the retreat, but I wanted to hear more about the Ouroboros training for the next round. So in that way.
Yeah. So you're an affiliate next round, which is exciting. So super happy to have you back as an affiliate this round. We start January 22nd, and we are increasing, because I always run over, and this program has been running ridiculously over. So the program this next round will actually be 4 months long. And it is a deep dive into deconstructing your money story. If you are in that place where you're desiring financial freedom and you're tired of living in financial slavery consciousness and being controlled by money, and you want financial freedom, like, come join us. But it's not easy. It's hard. People want to quit. I had a come to Jesus live stream in the group last night. I'm like, I told you from the beginning that it was going to be hard. I told you were going to hate me. I told you were going to want to quit.
Even Facebook was challenging you.
Oh yeah. So, I mean, it is about deconstruction, so that we can rebuild on top of a firm foundation. So we start January 22nd. Erika, you can, I'm sure, drop your link in the comment section or in the description, so people can find out more. There's a lead page with tons of information and testimonials. And I'm sure if anyone's interested, Erika would be happy to talk to you about it and tell you her experience and answer any questions. But yeah, Ouroboros is really going next level in 2020. I'm really excited. I also think, like, we're moving into this new decade, and what an amazing way to start the decade by completely deconstructing your money programming so that you can actually go into this next phase of humanity able to, like, create wealth and acquire and accumulate wealth and, live your divine birthright, which is to be wealthy. I always say that the word wealthy actually comes from the words well and healthy. So it is our divine birthright to be wealthy in all areas of our life. And ultimately, this program is about worthiness and deserving. And that's the thing that I've seen across the board change and shift for people. They just step into a whole new level of worthiness and deserving. And we are having an Ouroboros retreat in March. You will either have to be in round 3 or have completed one of the first 2 rounds to come participate in the retreat. And it will be in Bali, and it's going to be a week-long retreat. I'm really excited about it. We're going to be visiting sacred sites and doing abundance activations. And there's just going to be a lot of deep reconstruction is what I will say that the retreat is going to be about. So we deconstruct through Ouroboros, and then the retreat really is going to be the reconstruction. So
amazing. And so I'm guessing they can follow you on Facebook, on YouTube. Absolutely. I know that I'm
Leah Steele Life. I'm Leah Steele Life in all the places, except for on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, I'm Leah Steele Life. And YouTube, I'm just Leah Steele. So you can go to youtube.com/Leah Steele. And there's tons of my wealth content, my free wealth content and information over on YouTube. So definitely go subscribe there and follow me there. And I'm doing a new exclusive show called Wealth Sermon Wednesdays on YouTube every Wednesday. So more of this kind of wealth related content there.
She's spiritual Oprah with her kids in the background.
Always.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Leah.
You're so welcome. Thanks for having me.